have been
Push
pushed.
the button. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody inside and outside the gender norm spectrum. Welcome back to That's Our Cue. I am Danny Guarantee, joined by my lovely, I almost said assistant, but not assistant, co-host Adam.
Hi,
Although
I
Adam
am
is the one
Danny's
in the sexy
assistant.
dress.
I am Danny's assistant. I will be turning around the letters today every time you guess a correct letter.
Bing.
Yeah.
A.
S. Guess what the next letter is going to be?
K.
You got it. Ask a question. I like to solve the
Woo!
puzzle. All right, do the thing, Danny.
Da, 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 da. Oh, am I asking the question?
No, I mean, ask the question, Danny.
That's the question. All right. This comes from our good friend Dixon, also Dixon.
Yeah.
For TOQ, I know that mental health is very important to both of you. How do you
Hmm.
feel about consumption of violence centered media as a form of therapy? For instance, reading JTHM, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac,
Which I have.
which Adam has, which I'd never heard of, which literally has a mention in the compilation's intro of using the violent imagery as a substitute for actually causing violence, or blowing stuff up in Helldivers, the video game of your choice. Do you feel that it's a legitimate form of therapy? Do you think it's not really helpful? Just curious about your thoughts. Oh boy, oh
Hmm.
boy.
I'm
That's
trying
a
to find
big
that.
one.
I'm trying to find what he's talking about because um I'm reading it right now. Says there's a little monster inside all of us, a little wolf-paced monkey that needs to be satiated. As
There's two
people, we
wolves in
mustn't
all of
ignore
us.
that monster. If we do, we cheat ourselves. We deny emotion, a feeling. Oh, the one
Right,
paragraph
right.
says, "Let's talk about violence, shall we? Violence in the media is an easy target. If we get rid of all the violent movies, television shows, and comic books, the world will be utopian." And an easily believable answer. Just ask your mom. And then it goes on to say those other things about think of someone who pissed you off, some yutz who cut you off in traffic, a prick ass Kinko's employee who took 3 hours to copy your resume, um, the big bully who spit in your face when you were 8. Now in your head, relive that moment. This time, however, don't just stand there and take it. This time, you've got a knife. Pull it out from behind your back and watch the status flip flop. Suddenly, Mr. Kinko isn't so cocky. The playground bully is crying for his mother. Smell their fear, then kill them. Kill them like you see in the movies. Make it as horrible as possible. Release that monster and stab that knife deep into their face. That goes on for another couple paragraphs, but the one more that I'll read on top of this is, as humans, we are taught to forget that we are animals. Animals kill to survive, and it's just as natural for us. To deny nature is to deny life. Now that you've committed murder in your dream world, relax. Take a deep breath. Give your monster a high five and put him away. You've just used an evil fantasy to keep you civilized and sane. Some may call this irresponsible advice. They kid themselves that their monster doesn't exist, and when a person lies to themselves, there is less chance for spiritual growth. More than likely, their monster will step out of the dream world and into the real world. That's how a society gets messy. Lots of neglected, hungry monsters. So that's from Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, the opening uh, diatribe of to
Right.
why this comic book exists.
Interesting. I
Yeah. So,
actually
yeah, go
I
ahead.
do agree with some of that. I'm gonna give a real short answer and then we can dig into it more. But
Absolutely.
my short like pre-answer, I don't think consuming violent media or playing violent video games or anything like that. I honestly don't think it works as a therapy to not do those things, but I also don't think it works as a trigger to do those things, right? Like I don't think playing GTA is going to stop you from going on a homicidal rampage, but I also don't think it's going to cause you to go on a homicidal rampage thinking it's okay. Um like I never and of course that's assuming that the individual is mentally sound, right? All this
Sure.
goes out the window when you're dealing with mental illness of any kind. So I'm going to, for the sake of the argument, assume our person, mentally sound. I don't think it would work as a therapy, but I also don't think it would work as a trigger. But I do really like that homicidal maniac went into not feeling heard, your monster not feeling heard, and I think that that's the big thing. I think if Lil Jimmy, who gets bullied every day, had somebody who he could actually talk to about it, who actually listened, understood, and helped, I think that would make a huge difference. It would keep him from having that episode one day where he's like, "Well, I have a knife. I could flip the table." I think the biggest thing, and this goes for adults as well, and you can see it in the adult world everywhere, nobody feels heard right now. Nobody's getting the help they need right now. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's worried about a million things, whether it be money, status, whether it be putting food on the table, keeping your house. All of that shit builds up, right? And it makes it so easy to just snap at like the littlest thing. And I think that that is where we need to focus. And unfortunately, I think the only way to fix that, or therapy for that, is to fix the underlying problem. Give people security in their life. They say money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy security. And I think that that alone would make a huge difference to the violence epidemic that we're finding ourselves in. My God, I went on a lot longer than I thought I was going to. That's the short answer.
That's okay. I've gone for like 10 minutes. So you only went for about 2.5. So it's fine.
For me, that's a lot.
Well, that's good. I'm trying to pull more out of you. So follow up, like just to get back to the root of the question then.
Yes.
So like they Dixon mentions consumption of violence centered media as a form of therapy. Now, if we I'm just trying to play devil's advocate to see how close to the
Mhm.
other side of the spectrum we can get. So let's say that the way that one feels sometimes this is a subconscious thing. Like I play video games to make myself feel better. It's not like I don't know too many people that say I play violent video games to make myself feel better. It's just I play video games to make myself feel better, right? So
Right.
now if someone's like, you know what? Now that that guy pissed me off, I'm gonna go make guy's character in I don't know, a game where you can do that and then like a wrestling game and then put him through all the tables and hit him with all the ladders and play set your opponent on fire match. Like stuff like that. Like whatever it is that where you're like, "Oh, I'm going to imagine that Helldivers robot is Carl." Blah blah blah,
Oh, Carl.
Carl, right? So like if you know you're doing it, like if it's an intentional practice of this is how I'm going to make myself feel better, is like Jonan Vasquez was saying, like, oh, this time I'm going to have a knife. But instead of imagining it like in your dream, you're playing your video game, or maybe you're watching your favorite movie, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy that got blown up, that was Dave, because Dave looked at me wrong the other day. Fuck Dave.
Mhm.
You know, like do you think that pendulum swings that way at all?
I
Um,
think I do. I actually think that doing that is actually counter to therapy. I know it probably feels good at that moment, but what you're doing is you're letting yourself dwell on it. So you're worrying about it longer than you have to, right? Like, okay, Dave bullied me at school today. I hate Dave. He's the worst.
Fucking
But
Dave.
like, I'm out of school now. It's nighttime. Killing him in a video game is not going to make or is not going to make my situation any better. And now I'm bringing it home. Right now, I'm worrying about Dave, even though I'm home, and I could just be relaxing and enjoying this time I have without Dave in my life. Obviously, is different if your bully is like your brother or something, but hear me out. So I think it's actually antithetical to do this because now you're focusing on that, and there is stuff to be said about desensitization, and I think you're desensitizing yourself to the idea of hurting Dave by doing stuff like that. I think, by killing him in a video game a whole bunch, that's kind of what opens the door to be like, I could just bring a knife tomorrow. I could do that. Um I think the problem starts at having that dream where you let your monster out on Dave instead of actually doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I hard disagree. Uh,
Oh, let me
yeah,
hear it.
yeah. So, although I do see where you're coming from for sure. So and you're right. I do think there is potential for a point of no return, but again, I'm going from the original concept of this is like an emotionally, for the most part, emotionally well-rounded person who's had just like a bad experience they don't know what to do about, right? Not
Mhm.
somebody who's been teetering on the edge for quite some time, because that absolutely there is potential for that to, you know, bleed into real life.
Right.
And I'm not saying it hasn't. I'm sure, you know, somebody has seen something on TV that they were like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'll do." But I don't think it's just somebody saw a movie once and their brain was like, "I need to commit violence now." Like sometimes it just kind of depends on sometimes that stuff is influenced at home. What you see at home, what you see in your regular life. Actually, I shouldn't say sometimes. Most of the time, it's influenced by what you see at home or in your personal life or in school. So having said that, I don't think necessarily that I think there's a limit. So say I'm at school or I'm at work and some person's just giving me the hard time, or like my boss is just being the biggest prick on earth and like I can't speak out to him right now cuz I'll lose my job, I'll lose my livelihood. So I go home and load up SmackDown versus Raw 2005, and I build this guy named Dave, and I'm like, "All right, Dave, me and you, buddy," and I give him all the shittiest stats I can give him, and then for like about for the entire match, I'm just like putting him in every submission hold that I can remember the code for. And then he taps out. And I'm like, all right, fuck you, Dave. And then it just ends there because like you had a place to put that anger, right? I think for the same reason that like if somebody's angry and they go to the gym to work out, or if somebody's angry and they go for a run, or if somebody's angry and they write it in their journal, or if somebody's angry and they start doing crafts, right? Now, if I'm painting and I paint Dave getting gored by a deer, ha, take that, Dave. And then if that's the end of it, like that's how that if I can put that rage into a space and then that's where it stops, just so I can like have it be somewhere outside of my body, but
Right.
in like a creative way or a hobbyist way, cool.
Well, all
But
right.
now what I'm saying now to your point, now what I
Yeah, go
could
ahead.
see is if if it becomes a regular occurrence, I'm talking every single day, you encounter this torture, you encounter this negative thing. I don't think it matters what you're consuming. At some point, the dam's going to break, right? I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, I keep going into a video game to kill Dave, or I keep going into, my craft room and writing different ways that Dave gets like beaten up by woodland creatures. I think at some point it's like, you know, there's another problem there. And I don't think it's necessarily the video games or the movies or the violent content that is causing it, but it could turn into like a, hey, you know what? Maybe because this constant thing is happening to me, that like now this isn't enough what I'm doing. It was keeping me at bay for so long, but maybe something worse happened this time. Or maybe a new element was added that push you over the edge, or something totally unrelated to Dave happened. And now you're like, I don't know how to take this abstract concept and put it into a game where I can let out my aggressions because now it's something beyond just Dave, right? So like I think when there's a lot of elements that start to collect, then yeah, I could see that dam start to break and you're like, maybe I'll just real life bring a deer into school and have it gore Dave. You
Mm,
know, like and it's a ridiculous example, but it's stuff like that where like you start thinking like, all right, how can I apply things to real life because you don't have the tools, maybe not through therapy or through a good support network or through a reliable friend or good books that you've read or some sort of, I don't know, relaxing YouTube video that has guided you in a way, or that Instagram post you just needed to see at the right moment. We've all had it. We're like, you know what? I'm so glad I saw that today. That applies to me. Changes your way of thinking. If you don't have something like that to poke a hole in that balloon and or that water bed and let some air and water out, like it's gonna burst eventually. So, and to your point there, I think it depends on what's escalating in the real world that maybe eventually what's happening in the gaming world or the movie world isn't enough anymore,
right.
right? So that's
Well,
where I could see your point, but I don't think it would just be like, oh, I'm dwelling in it because I just want to beat the shit out of Dave. I think it's beyond like I just don't want it to sound like the video game or the movie is the problem. I think it's just there's at some point you're not facing. You need to find a healthier way to tackle.
Right.
Video
I'm
games
not
are not
trying
the
to say
only
the video
answer,
game is the problem. It's not. It's the
right?
fact that you're not letting yourself let go of it and you're stewing on it. It would be the same for my argument, right? If instead of video games or like you said painting or everything, just sitting down, closing your eyes and imagining yourself killing Dave. Like any of that. You're letting yourself dwell on it more and more and kind of letting it envelop you. And people are right when they say that like rage is a monster that can eat you. It can take over everything. And if you let it, you'll eventually do something you regret.
Sure.
They what do they say now? Living rent free in your head. The idea of
Mhm.
like I did something to you that you're going to be thinking about all day. I'm living rent free in your head, and then that becomes even a one up, and it's like you can't let it get to that point. I know it's hard. I'm trust me, I'm not saying it's easy, but in my opinion, you have to be like, okay, I'm done with school. David's gone for the day. Now I can finally relax. If I want to get the anger out on a video game, that is fine. I would absolutely boot up like Helldivers and shoot a bunch of bugs and bots but I wouldn't put Dave's face there. I would just be like, "Yeah, get him, blow him
Right.
up." And then
Or right.
that's just my catharsis.
Yeah, and I think that's where like Uh, I think it's a whole other conversation to say, like, leave it at school, leave it at work, leave it wherever. But you're right. Like, you can only control what you can control. But knowing the anxiety of knowing, like, in a previous episode, we talked about how, like, you would need like a fair warning ahead of time to have company come over or to
Right.
prepare yourself mentally to go do social activity. But knowing it's happening every single day to whatever degree that you have to put up with it, and it's just me all day, every day, and you have no breaks. Once you come home, you sleep for a few hours, you go back. There's Adam on Monday. There's Adam on Tuesday. There's Adam on Wednesday. All day, every day, just sucking your energy dry. And like that anxiety of like I have to go back to work tomorrow, and Adam's gonna sit next to me and tell me all about why video games are fun
Oh.
because he put Dave's face in it or whatever. So like that anxiety of knowing like when I go back to work, when I go back to school, or when I'm going to see this
Right.
person tomorrow, like that is hard to let go of. But you're right, it is something that you have to
Well,
find. Like I was saying earlier, like there has to be a better way to
and you're right. It is. I would say it's literally impossible to let it go at that point. But that is where I go back to my first point, where I say that the actual problem is we need people that you need like actual help
right. We need
that
a support
exists in this
system.
world. We need a
Yeah,
place where you could go tell somebody, an adult, who will actually listen and do something about it. You hear
right,
all the time, like, about like the school shooters and everything that, well, they were always kind of weird or dark, or maybe they even went to the school counselor and told them about it and just nothing happened. Hello? Like,
right,
it- I don't really care if David gets expelled over this. He deserves it for being a little shit stain.
right.
Sorry, like,
We need
we
a shit
can't be
stain
afraid
monitor
to
at
actually
schools.
do stuff to
Right.
bad kids.
We need a shit stain monitor at schools and at work and in just public places where the moment someone starts getting crazy, just like, all right, get in the boxing ring.
Yeah, and it
I've
doesn't
hired
have
I've
to be a
hired a
cop with a
taser to kick
gun,
your ass.
for God's sake. Um,
Yeah,
and
I want to
before
have my own
anybody
squad.
takes what I said too far, I am not saying beat your kids at all. I'm not saying
No,
hit
I'll
them.
do it.
When I
No,
said, like, we have to do something about a kid that's being bad, I don't mean hit them. But if a kid comes to you and says, "Hey," or comes home from school crying all the time, and, if I came home from school crying, my parents would be like, "All right, tell me who I have to beat up."
right. Well, before we
They
before
didn't
we
mean literally, but they would go to the teacher and be like, "This kid needs to face some accountability. You can't just let this slide."
right, but let's be let I know that it's easy to lean into the school thing because that's a constant problem
Right.
in
Well,
America. But like our audience, I think, is mostly, if not all adults.
ugh,
And
so old.
I think and you're thinking right there, Danny, is exactly not only a good conversation, but also a bad way to lean in the conversation. And let me tell you why. Because that is the conversation that always gets skipped over after a couple of days when something violent does happen in a school. But one thing that I will say, I read something the other day that really kind of clicked with me that is better in words than how I think I can put it. But they said that the one thing that the patriarchy did bad for men was that it made it so that way they don't have a space to express their emotions and have that support network. And then they made a funny joke afterwards where the girl was like, I told my best friend who's a girl that I was going to order a salad for dinner, and she called me right away because I'd never been a salad person and asked me if I was okay. She's like, your friends don't like guy friends don't do that. And so I was like, it's silly, but it's true. So like, and again, the only reason I cite that is because most of the violence in our country is from men who don't know what to do with
Right.
their emotions, and they don't know where to put them, and they don't know how to handle them. So the reason I want to bring this up is I want to talk to the adults that are listening. Okay. Whether we're talking about kids, whether we're talking about other adults, or we're just talking about you in a room by yourself. If you have an opinion, you should also be modeling what that opinion is in a way that is productive. Meaning, if they say, oh, well, that guy needs therapy. And I say this because my own sister, who believes in therapy and works as a therapist, will not go see a therapist herself because she thinks that she is above that, which is absolutely insane to
That's
me.
crazy to me.
Love the woman to death, but she thinks that she is the exception to the rule, but will still be like, "Oh, well, I know some therapists if you need it. That sounds like you could really use some therapy, honey," to other people in her life. And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, but you won't do it? Like, you can't tell people it's good for them, but not for you. That's just not. That's like having a cigarette in your mouth and saying, 'Don't smoke, kids.' Here's a pack."
Mhm.
Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. So if you believe in mental health, if you believe in getting people services, if you believe that people should have access to expressing their emotions in a way, or even if you take out any other services that America and other countries can offer, let's just put all that aside for a second. Model the behavior, break the cycle, right? I know a lot of us come from families. I come from a very conservative family, a very poor family, a very kind of disconnected family from a lot of other parts of society, who it was just like men aren't allowed to cry. That's what I was taught to believe. Men can't cry. Boys have to suck it up and they have to protect the women. And again, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with protecting your family and protecting women, but what I'm saying is they led with men don't cry, men don't need help, men don't ask for help, right? Like, that's crazy. And I grew up believing that for a long time, dude. And like,
Mhm.
I'm so glad I broke away from that. And I'm not saying it's just conservative households. I'm just saying that's where I came from. And I can only speak to where I come from. But we were just off in the woods. My mom only ever wanted to live away from society, out in the woods somewhere. She didn't want to live in cities or towns or have neighbors. We did a couple times just because the program we were in that helped us get housing made us. But for the most part, when my mom had the choice, we lived out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And it was because she just didn't want to be around people. And so the only people that I saw and how they acted were either when I was at school or when I was at home. And, we were just taught this is how it is. That's how men are supposed to act. You have to be tough, hide your emotions away, cry in your room if you have to, but do not cry in front of anybody else. And it took my own brother dying for me to see my dad cry for the first time. Like, I'd never seen the man cry my entire fucking life. And I saw him cry when I was 19 years old. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know we were allowed to do that." Like,
Jesus.
"Oh, okay, we can cry now." So what I'm saying is this, guys and gals and non-binary folks, listen, if you have a problem with how the world is treating you, other people, or neglecting the resources or how they interact with one another, the thing you can control is what you are doing and what you are consuming and how you are processing things. And if you are somebody who says you need therapy, but you like projecting to someone else they need therapy, but you are not in it, then don't give that advice because you're not doing it, right? If you say, "Oh, you should really talk to that person," but then you realize you don't talk to people about your own problems, then don't tell other people what they should be doing because you are not qualified to give that advice, son. You just need to practice your own shit. So here is my advice. Practice before you preach. Like, practice
Wait, are you in
before
a
you
good
preach.
place to give this advice?
Am I in a good place? Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you follow this advice before you give it out?
Yes, I have been in therapy for almost a year now,
Okay,
and I've
just
never
checking.
told anybody else to go to therapy. I've just been fighting really hard with my insurance companies to let me go to therapy
Oh,
for
yeah.
a long time. And I have a lifetime of experience working through trauma. And there's some times where I'm recognizing that maybe I'm speaking out of turn and I shouldn't be doing that. I do analyze people sometimes and I'm trying to be more aware of it. So I'm not saying that I'm perfect and I'm the one that should give you all that advice. But what I can say is that I'm the only one you should listen to. But what I am saying is that a lifetime of trauma, a lifetime of working through said trauma, going to therapy and finally being told from my therapist, well, it sounds like you got here a little late because it sounds like you worked through all the big stuff already. She told me in my own words, she says, Adam, you're pretty much winning at therapy right now. And I was like, fuck yeah. So, what I use her for now is when present problems come up because I finally realized that I've worked through all the big stuff that I've suffered in my life. But it comes from me reaching. I would have never gotten through my 20s if I didn't lean on people, ask them questions, ask them for help, ask them for money sometimes when I was just flat out like about to be evicted, like sleeping on people's couches. Like I would have never made it through my 20s after the trauma I went through. Like I said, losing my brother at 19 and then going through my 20s trying to process that plus a breakup that happened right before that. And then my best friend dying 2 years after that. Like it was a weird couple of fucking years, dude. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, man, that I would not have survived had I not just said, I'm struggling. I am having problems. I need help. And I was loud and I was persistent and I was just fierce about it. I was like, you cannot call yourselves my friends unless you can be there for me. I didn't say that, but that's why I was like, really what it was I cannot be their friend and call them my friend if I don't ask them to be there for me. And so I did. And everybody rose to the occasion without even asking a second question. And so what I'm saying is this: model it, practice it. If you want to see change around you in the people that you love, then you need to model it. If you're saying, hey, it's okay to ask for help, brother, sister, friend, dad, mom, grandpa, whomever, then you should also ask for help. And even if you don't think you need it, find a reason to get some help and ask them for it to show that it's okay to, right? Whatever that looks like. So whether it's a video game, or whatever else that is, like everybody has their own coping mechanisms. And I don't think those things push people to the edge. What I do think pushes people to the edge is when they think they have to internalize it and that outward projection they do on it with a video game or a book isn't enough anymore. And it's because they need someone else to help them shoulder that burden. But they decide to do it on their own because they haven't seen anybody model that behavior to ask for that help. So here is what you should do: practice it before you preach it, and then try to catch yourself if you preach it before you practice it. Or if you preach it without practicing it, declare during that preach that you too wish to practice it, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
and
basically,
yes.
in fewer words, um, what Adam, I think, is trying to say is you got to basically check yourself before you wreck yourself,
Yeah,
right?
pretty
That's what
much.
I'm getting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, not only check yourself before you wreck yourself, check yourself before you try to teach others not to wreck themselves.
right.
Because you may inadvertently project something to them, or they may not take your word as seriously because they see, how can you tell me not to smoke if you're doing it? How can you tell me to ask for help if you never ask for help? And I can tell you something I've said on the show before: the consistency in your character is key to change. It People will notice it. They will notice change. They will notice if you're consistent in what you say you will do and you do it. So that is how we avoid stuff like this: is we just kind of make sure our arms are extended, we take on the burdens that we can, and we ask for help for the ones that we can't, and to be realistic about it.
Hmm,
Video
hmm.
games got nothing to fucking do with it. Movies got nothing to fucking do with it. If it's becoming too much that your hobby is not enough for you, it's because the dam's about to break for other reasons. And you need to find a way to process that through therapy, through your support networks, or, some other external force that will help you carry through it. So having said that, that's my answer is no, I don't think violent video games or movies are a problem, or that that is a bad form of therapy, but I don't think that should be the therapy.
God damn,
It
I
is
thought
just
my
an
answer
it
was
is
long.
It is just an outlet.
Very nice. It was very
Uh,
well put.
Sorry, I apologize.
No,
That's why I
you're
said you weren't
don't
wrong at
be.
all.
That's what this show is for.
Actually, hey, actually,
That's why we're
I
here.
I decided on something else I wanted to try today, so I could lighten the mood because I don't know.
Oh, I actually had something to lighten the mood too.
Oh, what was your
Well,
thing? Because I
I
was
have
just
2
talking.
things I wanted to do real quick.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Number 1, just backtracking like 10 minutes. Um, when you were talking about how you were brought up and you were told never to cry, never show emotion as a man, all this stuff.
Yeah,
Um, I just want to give my take on that whole thing for everybody,
sure.
because I find this is a very good way to kind of frame it. And I know you've probably heard it before, um, but we all love to say that like the dumbest person in the room is the loudest and thinks they're the smartest, or like someone who is a nice guy, the biggest red flag is telling you they're a nice guy.
Hmm.
Because if you are actually nice, you don't need to tell everybody. Or if you are actually smart, you don't need to scream about how smart you are.
Your character will show that.
Masculinity, what's that?
Said your character will show that.
Right. Masculinity goes the same way. I consider myself manlier than the jacked up 240 guy who drives a pickup truck with giant rims, because I am secure in my masculinity to the point where if my friends dared me to wear a dress, I'd wear a damn dress. I don't really care. I don't mind being a goofball. I don't mind crying. I don't mind being cutesy and like flirty with my guy friends. The very first thing I did when I saw Adam in person was hug him in public.
And tell me that I smelled like you thought I would.
And you did. It was beautiful.
We have that
Um,
on video
it
somewhere.
was a beautiful Adamy Musk.
Mhm.
Um, But it's the same as those other things, right? Like, if you're so concerned about appearing manly that you can't cry, you can't let any emotion show, you think you need to be jacked just to, like, prove that you're a man, that's fragile. You're fragile, and I'm sorry. I'm not trying to piss you off, please don't hurt me, but you are. Like, you need to realize that to really be secure in your masculinity, you need to get to the point where you don't need to prove it to other people.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I had on that. I
That was
had a
great.
nice
That was
story that happened to me yesterday. I was going to end
Oh,
the
okay.
episode on to kind of cheer things up.
Oh, you were gonna end the episode on that?
Well,
Boy,
it
wait
doesn't
till you
have to
hear what
be
I
the
have.
end. You said you had something else too.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure. Yeah, tell us the nice story.
so I'll tell the nice story then. So yesterday I was playing a game online with a bunch of friends. There were like 6 of us all together. And one of my friends said, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm sorry, but me and friend number 2 were talking about you the other day. And we just wanted to let you know that we think it's awesome how you're able to take any situation and just make it like lighthearted and fun. And, like it's not something I could ever do. I get too into things and then I stop having fun, but you're able to always take it so lighthearted and just have fun with it, and it brings us up to that level." And I want to share this story because thinking back on it later, oh my god, I almost cried right then and there. Um, but when we tell you or like challenge you to go out and give compliments to people
Mhm.
from someone who just experienced the other side of that out of the blue, we're not doing it just to be funny. We're not doing it just to be like, do good, be good person. It really makes a huge difference. I've been thinking about what she said to me all day, and I've been smiling all day because of it. It's
Mhm.
been and again, this came out of nowhere, and it made my whole last night and into today. It makes such a huge difference to know that you're appreciated, even in a small way. I try very hard to be the kind of person others want to be around. I always try to make sure that I'm not the one dragging the party down, that I'm the one lifting it up. And I've like to think I got okay at it. You know, I'm not the biggest social butterfly, but I've tried very hard to kind of fake it till you make it. Um, and to hear out of the blue that it was acknowledged and that I'm doing a good job, man,
Yeah, dude.
oh, it hit that spot. So seriously, go out and just compliment somebody you're close to or not close to. Just don't be creepy about it. Don't be weird about it. Just compliment each other. It makes so much of a difference. It really does.
Yeah. I would say
Sorry.
too. I no, it's
That's it.
good. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Because like I think, yeah, it's. I'm glad that you got to have that on the other side because like I think that's like where sometimes people like they don't recognize the power of it because maybe they don't get to feel it as often. Um, but I'm a compliment machine. Like I doesn't but you're right. Like it's easier for me to put that out, but something I've been trying to practice when I receive those things is to acknowledge like thank you for saying that. I appreciate you saying that. That was very nice of you. Like that's another way to pay a compliment back is to acknowledge like "Yeah, that was big of you to say. Thank you for saying that. That really made my day. Like it's validating to make somebody keep doing it. So like it's good that you got to feel that because like a lot of people don't get to. But again, to your point, that's why we should do it more, right?
Mhm.
Like, but make sure it's sincere, right? But like it doesn't have to be as in depth as like you make my day better, you make me feel good, and this is the example. But sometimes if you're really feeling it and you're like, you know what? That person's probably the best part of my day when this happens because I'm just dragging. I should let them know. Um, then you should. And if you're not very eloquent or maybe you're not good with words, write it down or just make it quick, like we've been saying at the end of every episode. Just be like, you're just a really swell person. I just love being around you. Thank you. It can be a quick and easy one like that. Um, I have actually one I can share real fast that happened at work just last week. Not to me. Not that I haven't gotten those, but I want to kind of flip it on the other side, which is there's a gal who works at the front desk. She works at the food bank with me. Her name is Sonia. She is an absolutely delightful woman. Um, and she always coordinates her hats with her outfits. Like she always I just dude, she's such a
That's
fucking
amazing.
style
I love
she's
that.
such a stylish icon. She has all these usually they're like flat caps most of the time, like some sort of style like that. But she always has a hat on and she always coordinates it with her outfit. And she always just like whether she's dressing casual or maybe a little extra like dolled up or something, she's just always like color coordinated to the fucking T, dude. And it's so freaking cool. Every time I walk in, I can't help but compliment what she's wearing because she just like she shows up. And the other day, and I always tell her that, but the other day I leaned on the front desk because I was just killing a little bit of time. And I was like, "Hey, Sonia, I know I'm always like messing with you about always talking about your clothes. But I want you to know, like, I really like genuinely like, I was a dance teacher for almost 10 years. I had to really look at a color wheel every day to figure out how to best make my outfits look like I knew what I was doing. And it was a lot of mental gymnastics. And like, I still kind of try to do that now. Like, I was at the time, I was wearing a blue and yellow marathon shirt and I wear my blue and orange shoes because I was like, well, these kind of go with this. And I try to color coordinate something. But she always just looks so professional. Like, even in the most casual clothes at the food bank, she just kills it. And I told her, I was like, how do you like, do you have a collection of hats? Like, or do you just rotate the same ones out and I just don't notice? Like, how do you just like get into that? And so we were talking for a little while and just through her just being like, oh, this is where I get my hats, or, I've always just really liked clothes, or I've always, as a young black woman, like I just really wanted people to see my style when I was in a school full of mostly white people. I just wanted them to always see that like I knew what I was doing. But then she's let slip that she has alopecia, which I actually didn't know. But I realized I've
Mm.
never seen her without a hat on, and so she was like, and I started doing it because I had alopecia and I was diagnosed very young. And like I just wear these outfits because it made me feel confident and made me feel good about myself. And so I've always coordinated my clothes with my hats and my shoes and all these other things because it just makes me feel beautiful. And I was like, holy shit, I was not expecting to hear this today. Like, but it was just a very quick, vulnerable moment that she just threw out there. And like, man, my extroverted brain was like on fire at that point. I was like, holy fuck, I just learned this like huge detail from this person when I was just trying to compliment their clothes. And like, oh my God, like my brain was like the fucking Energizer bunny. I wanted to ask so many more questions and give her the biggest hug, which I did. And but but like again, like you may not always get that in depth of a conversation afterwards, but but just that was another way that that manifested a really kind, vulnerable, moment that like I don't think I'll forget anytime soon.
Yeah.
And Sonia always smiles at me when I walk in. She's always excited to see me. I'm always happy to talk to her. She's the face of the company. When you walk in, she's the first person that you see. And like, just I'm just like, man, no, like you always look so good that you always make me feel like I got to step up my game. That's how the conversation started. Was that you always make me feel like I have to step up how I dress, and and I always try to like make sure that you are approve of my outfit. So like, and then it just kind of went from there. So like, you never know. So a couple things can happen. You can have what happened with Danny, where like he's been really. I don't know if Sonia thought about that after that conversation, but I know I did. But in this case with Danny, you've been talking about it, like, you've been thinking about it for all day and that whole night, and, like, that
Mhm.
really kinda elevated your mood and gave you those good dopamine feels, and, like, you know, that's what we want, right? Like, that's how you can change the world, because I tell everybody all the time, this world is made up of 7 billion little worlds, and you can save and rescue or affect or change or impact negatively or positively dozens, if not hundreds in a day, if you have a microphone and a really loud voice. But so just think about that. So, to
Well,
kinda get
and
back to it, like, that's just another side of what that can look like, and so, it
and
just
I th
those vulnerable moments can
oh,
come out sometimes and really make people feel good.
and I think when we first started, I even said something along the line of like, everybody wants to change the world, but you have to remember that each person is their own world, right? And when you give a
Sure.
compliment, you're changing the world for that one person for that one day. And what happened to Sonia and what happened to me is exactly what I was talking about. My world, my entire world was changed for today because everything was a little bit brighter. It wasn't earth-shattering change, but it was changed. Everything was a little bit nicer. Everything was a little brighter. Every
Mhm,
time, I got like tired or did chores or something, I had that to look at and just kind of smile at. And
mhm.
yeah, it changed the world for me for a day. And that's perfect. That's great.
Yeah, man.
That's enough.
It's really sometimes it's just little things, like,
If everybody
something
does that, the world will change.
something we started doing at work. We had a theme park trip in July or early August, I can't remember, and all of the my work paid for everybody to go, and we all went to this place. It's called Kennywood, and me and a few other coworkers just kind of met up just accidentally. We didn't know the other ones were going to be there. And I was like, oh shit. So we were all hanging out, really bonded with a couple that I don't get to see very often because they work remotely. And we all worked together to win this giant, like bouncing tomato wearing sunglasses and has a big smile on his face. He's huge. And we won him on like the last. We took turns paying for like 20 balls at a time, and it was really expensive. But we finally won this thing that we probably could have ordered online for cheaper. But the experience was fun. And then the one gal was like, "You know what? We should send this to the food bank and just like take pictures with them around the office." So it started with like this fun little thing we were gonna do. But then I got the idea to just leave them at people's desks when they weren't there and just like leave a little note that says, "Take a picture with me," and then pass me on. And then it's grown since then because he's really been making his way. Eventually we named him Jerry Tomato. And so like, oh, my name's Jerry. I'm here for my learning experiences. I'm a new employee. And so we leave these little notes and shit. And now he's got clothes. He has like my boss recently like clipped some gloves to him. One of the safety guy put one of my beanie caps and one of my bolo ties on him when I wasn't at my desk. Um, and he just got to go. My dream was to get him to go into one of the trucks on like deliveries, and he got to go out this morning. And our truck driver sent us all sorts of pictures of just she was having a blast with him, taking pictures with him like at agencies she dropped off at. She put him on the railroad tracks at one point. It was just these beautiful. I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe how far this fucking tomato has made it around the food bank. I thought for sure we'd hit a wall at some point. People like, this is dumb. I don't want to do it. But he's picked up steam. One gal who hasn't seen him yet just saw the pictures we've been sharing on our SharePoint page and was like, hey, I made you a template to make him a name tag. And I printed it out and made him a name tag the other day. And so like people are trying to get involved in these fun little ways and take pictures with them. And we've just been amassing all these really fun photos, and people have been adding their own little touches to what he looks like and what he's doing. And just these are like silly little things that just like I thought you can affect someone's day. Like I remember I left it in my on the other side of the cubicles. I can't see her, but her name's Kellyanne. and I left him at Kellyanne's desk the other day, and she comes in about a half hour, 45 minutes later than I do. And she just started fucking cackling, dude. I could hear her. She was just cackling, and I knew right away. I was like, "Oh, she's clocked Jerry now." And she was cackling so much, and then she finally came over to me and she goes, "So what are we gonna do about Jerry?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I feel like I have to add more to him. He's wearing gloves, so he lost one of his gloves. I'm gonna give him one of mine." And then she helped me make his name tag, and then she helped me get him on a truck with one of our truck drivers, which was like what I wanted. So anyway, just like these little things you can do. If you're not a compliment person, like I get that that can be challenging, but there's ways to just like do these funny little silly gestures that just again people notice that they remember that and like I have been really a compliment to me without one being paid directly as I just like that feeling you've been having, Danny. I've been beaming about that all day. When I saw those pictures just this afternoon, Kellyanne put on our SharePoint page all these pictures that our driver went out and took pictures with him in all these funny locations. And I was like, holy fuck. She even made like a little slip that says he got his CDL. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy that people are doing stupid shit like this with this fucking tomato ball. Like
That's
it's
amazing.
so
That's so
dumb.
amazing.
It's so dumb, but people are just like leaning into it. And I've been like, I just felt myself walking down this really long stretch of the warehouse out to the front where I park and just catching my smile just happening inadvertently as I'm just walking because I was just thinking like that's so funny, that's so silly. I'm so happy this like dumb little thing we did at Kennywood is now this like they just left him in the HR office this afternoon, so I'm curious what they'll do. But like but I'm just like, I'm so happy. Like, oh, the safety guy, when I left it at his desk, he came and got me and he let me take pictures with him on the scrubber and maintenance. We put him up on the high lift and he took a picture with him
Oh
up
my
on the
god.
high lift, like 20 feet up in the air. We took a picture of him in the fucking cooler. We wedged him up onto one of the pallets at one point. We were having a goddamn blast. And I was just like, I cannot believe, like, oh, they put him on a forklift at once. And I made Charles like pretend like he was showing him how to use it. Man, it was so fun. It was like 5 minutes of our time, and it was an absolute blast. And just those little things like that, again, like, just you infuse whimsy into these, like, situations that, like, maybe it's not a compliment, but it's like a fun thing, or it's a silly joke, right?
Mhm.
These things matter. So, anyway, I'm just saying there's a lots of ways to infuse that good energy, and as long as you're consistent and you're sincere, people will pick up on it, and they'll be delighted to see what you're gonna do next or even participate and whatever shenanigans or modeling that you want to do. So,
Yeah,
model that behavior.
that's
That's the
great.
best way to
That's
show that
amazing.
people will do it. I'll send you some of the pictures. Man, it's
Yeah,
so
do.
funny. It's so funny, dude. I've been like beaming because my
That's
dream was to
so
get him into a
great.
truck. And we did get him into a truck that was stationary, that was left behind, like that was under they're under maintenance. So we just popped him up in there and took a picture with him in there. But they actually have him like out in the truck driving around. And I was like, oh my God, that was my dream. Holy fuck, it's
Dude,
happening.
this sounds like
So
such a great bunch of people to work with.
yeah, I mean, the workplace isn't without its challenges like anywhere else, but like I'm
Yeah.
just so happy that people are game to just because it's hard. It's hard work working in nonprofit, especially with all the challenges coming from the administration and things. And like people are sad, they're worried, they're scared. You work with a lot
Mhm.
of vulnerable populations. And like sometimes you just like these little things are just exactly the silly ass things that people need. And I think if I had dropped it in the truck driver's office first, they'd have been like, fuck you, this is stupid. But like because we started with like the more kind of lively people who are a little bit more participatory in the silliness. And then we kind of worked our way around to the other areas where they're a little bit more maybe dry or maybe a little less excited at first. But when they see the pictures, they see how excited people get, they hear how giddy they get when it shows up at their desk, then people are just like, they ask questions, they want to get involved. And when it was sitting at Kellyanne's desk, a lot of truck drivers walked past her desk and they were like, oh, who's this guy? And then she was gleefully, Danny, explaining who he was and what he was doing and what his dreams were. And I was just fucking cheesing over on the other side of the office, like, oh my God, it's
That was
happening. Like,
amazing.
and so, but again, like those conversations would have never happened had we not started this dumb little fucking
Yeah.
thing. So it's just, there's a lot of ways to do some good in the world. If you don't think you can, again, there's dozens of worlds in my own fucking place of work that have been affected by this dumbass sunglasses wearing tomato. And
Also,
we love you,
real
Jerry.
quick, because you reminded me, big shout outs to our friend, he won me a shrimp stuffy at the
Oh yeah.
mall. His name is Scampy, and I love him. So big shout outs to you.
Yeah,
I love
Scampy.
Scampy.
All right, I know we're pushing time, but I have one more thing I want to throw at you.
Okay.
That I just
Just
I
so you know,
thought.
we were pushing time a half hour ago, but yes, go ahead.
I mean, we're pushing triple time. Um, so I, for some reason, felt compelled to go onto the "I was today years old" Reddit.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
I don't know why, but I just started thinking, like, what are some things that people might have learned later in life that maybe I could pull from? Because sometimes, like, there's things that I learn where I'm like, man, I can't believe it took me this long to understand what that was. But people learn things at different times, especially depending on where they come from.
Yeah,
But
like
this is
Riz
a
is
really funny
charisma.
one, huh?
Like Riz is
Like
charisma.
exactly. So this one is one that I learned about last year that I honest to Christ did not think had a differential anywhere. So the Reddit thread says, I was today years old when I found out not everyone wipes in the same direction. And they say, I assumed everyone wiped from front to back because who the hell talks about how they wipe? But today I saw a short video of a dude saying this, and I looked in the comments, and apparently there were tons of people who actually wipe back to front. And there are scores of comments on
Oh
this
my god.
thread. This is from 2 days ago from somebody named Yoel Amigo. And there are scores of responses about this, about how the unsanitary way to do it for women is back to front. Um, but like how most people, so then the discussion went to like some, what I learned was that people do it sitting down. I have never done that. I don't want to reach my hand into the toilet. But apparently that's pretty normal for people to either reach back or reach underneath in their front and
I
wipe
always
out.
stand up.
Me too. I do more
Yeah.
like kind of like I'm getting ready to like I'm a defensive lineman in football pose
Right.
where I'm like kind of
Well,
like,
because you have to bend over to get the cheeks to spread.
exactly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or you use the cheek spreader 5,000. Everybody has that. I have it.
Yeah.
And
I call it the
so
jaws of life.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Mine are the jaws of anti-life.
Oh.
um, but anyway, so I was just curious if you're comfortable to talk about that, Danny. You don't have to tell me how you wipe
Mom,
exactly,
end the
but
episode here.
did you know? My question for you is: have you always known that people did more than what you do?
So,
Like, because I only just learned this last year that like people sat down. I was like, what? You stay seated?
I
I had
have
no idea.
I have tried it sitting down and it works, but I didn't like it as much. However, I am the bridge between the front to backers and the back to fronters.
I am the bridge.
I do it both ways. Um, because when it comes to cleaning my butthole, I believe the best way to do it is to attack that bitch at all angles. So I will absolutely do front to back a bunch, but then just to make sure I got everything, I will do a few front to back and sometimes
Oh.
or back to front, sorry. And sometimes you'd be surprised what you find. And then I go
Dude,
back the other way and I keep doing that until I'm clean.
you need a bidet, sir. You need
I
a bidet.
do, and my wife doesn't want to get one.
Well, she doesn't have to use it. You can turn it on when you want to use it.
I know. The problem is I have monkey butt. I have a really hairy ass. So like it gets all up
Danny,
in there. I have
Danny,
to
I
go at it
genuinely
from like
can I interrupt you just to say that
yeah, no,
I love that
please.
your nickname should be the bridge. Danny the Bridge Guarantee is so fucking funny to me. Like
I'm
I
the
am
bridge
the
between the
bridge.
wipers.
I don't know
Hey,
why.
Lois,
That
is the
just
stage light?
I
like
told her to end the episode already.
oh my god. Oh, did
Beluga
your
just
wife
came in
just
and she's
come in
like, "You
and
know
say
your
like
mom listens to this." I was like, I just told her end the episode here.
you
I
should tell
gave warning."
tell Beluga you are the bridge.
Oh, speaking of my mother, she was telling me
That's
she
so
just
funny.
came to visit and we had dinner, and she was telling me
Ugh.
that, she was getting so embarrassed on the plane because she
Oh
had
no.
on headphones with our episode on it, and she was laughing out loud.
Good.
I was
Nothing to
like, "You
be
know what? That's
embarrassed
great."
about. Nothing to
Actually,
be
she didn't
embarrassed
say she
about.
was embarrassed, but I
Okay,
could
I was
tell.
gonna
I
say,
could tell.
I'm glad you were cackling about it. I
Yeah,
apologize
she
if this
said it
one
was
won't
so
be funny
funny she
until
was
minute
laughing out
50.
loud.
Yeah. This one won't be as funny until you get to this point, but still.
Nope, you better have hit that button, mother. You
She's
better have
not.
said, "You know what? I'm done. I'll
Your
just skip
mom
to the
likes
end."
my voice too much. She's gonna listen because I'm still talking.
Oh, is
So
that so?
yeah, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm not, and this isn't me trying to be gross. I'm just saying I've been told that I have a really, really good radio voice. And so I just think that your mom is a fan. She's a fan of you because she wants to support her son, but she sticks around even for the uncomfortable stuff because I'm here.
So you think she tunes in for me but stays for you?
Yeah, exactly.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I am the bridge between me and your mom.
When we were at dinner, I told her, that we were going to be doing TOQ right after dinner, but we
Mhm.
ended up pushing it to tonight.
Right.
But she was like, "Oh, maybe I should come and be on the episode." And I was
Oh,
like, "Don't."
dude.
I was like, "Don't joke about that because Adam will want you on the episode. He
Why
does
wouldn't
want
I?
that." And she was like, "Oh yeah, no, never mind."
What? Terry, please call in. Terry,
Tara, please.
Terry, please. We'll just put it
And
behind
she
a
did
paywall.
confirm it is I. It is Terri. And she had a
That's what I
big laugh
figured.
about the fact that I couldn't remember which it is.
Yeah, because Terry is usually the male
The
spelling.
dude, yeah.
Um, so yeah, Terry, we can put it behind a paywall. If you don't want it to be public for everybody, we can put it behind a paywall. If you want to do an episode, we'll put it on our Kofi, and people will have to pay to listen to it. Just think about it. Um, Anyway, back to wiping. That was a great analysis, Daniel, and I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I didn't realize there was such a dichotomy of. There's so many people in this thread that are just like I didn't know that either. Like I'm learning this like 2 days ago. Tons of responses
Mhm.
um, about like what the right way to do it. Bidet users are being very hoity-toity, left to right, up and down, upside down, middle and out,
Little circles.
little circles. For me, the best way that I feel good is just I try to save my poops for right before I hop in the shower. I might have said that already.
Oh, there you go, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that way, and then I just
Oh,
take
dude,
the removable shower head, just angle it a certain way, and just fire away with my own bidet style.
there is
Uh,
nothing worse than having to poop while you're in the shower, and then you have to come out,
and you
poop,
stick to the
and
toilet.
you have to, like, wipe with a wet ass. Ah.
Why would you wipe with a wet ass? Just get back in the shower.
Well, because 'cause
What are
I'm
you
done
talking
with
about?
the shower.
No,
I
you're
should
not,
just
because
get
you just
back in
got
the shower.
dirty. Get back in the shower. What are you talking about?
Luckily, this hasn't happened in a while,
You just
but
got out of the
yeah,
shower, you're dirty, get back in and just clean your asshole real quick.
I
What are you
really
talking
should
about?
just do that.
You silly sausage, what are you
I know,
doing?
I'm so silly, I'm sorry.
Just get back in there.
I'm sorry, I was pooping wrong.
I feel like only in this show can we go from serious subjects like mental health and the resources and support networks to hop in the shower to spray your asshole, you know?
And yet, nobody will find that out of left field. They'll be like, "Yeah, no, that's
I mean,
Danny and
if you've
Adam.
gotten
That
this
sounds
far into
about
the
right."
show, if this is your first episode, maybe, but but I mean,
If this is your first episode, welcome. Here's more
it's a
of this.
it's a heavy one, baby. All right, so let's wrap this up. I just want to put a focus real quick. I know we talk a lot about our questions, but and you know how to do that on funinstallers.network.biz. But I would also like to ask you to, if you would, go onto the appropriate sites that you or apps that you listen to your shows that you're on right now, and please leave comments on them or review the episodes individually. There's a resource called Podchaser where you can review individual episodes, but you can also leave comments on individual episodes on the apps themselves, such as Spotify and Apple, which really help with kind of spreading the. No matter how good our tags are going to be, podcasts are so saturated right now that the SEO is really hard unless you're doing like long form keywords in your metadata, and just we don't have that kind of impact yet. So the best way for us to kind of break in and have our metadata do its work is to have people interact with the show. So if you could, instead of well, in addition to submitting questions, because we still would like to get some more, thank you, Dixon. But please, if you haven't already, go back to episodes you've listened to when you're not driving, of course, or when you're in a safe space. Leave a little comment about what you liked about it or what you want to see. You can submit questions right on there if you like. I'll go read them. So please do that because I'd love to kind of break into some new areas for the how the networking works on podcasting, especially because it's very saturated. So please do that. It would really mean a lot to us. I'm trying to come up with a way to reward people for that eventually. So just a little side note, I paid off my car recently, so now I'm gonna have some extra money
Ooh.
in my pocket for the next couple of whiles because I decided not to re-up my lease. So I'm gonna put some of that money into my debts, but I'm also gonna split some of it and put it away alongside the other money we've been saving for the show and for the network. So hopefully you'll be seeing some more of that, and I'd love to reward our listeners for doing that. So for right now, just to kind of build that momentum, please leave comments on our episodes. If you can, go on to Podchaser, do the same thing. At least rate the show. We only have 7 ratings on the show right now, and it's 5 stars, which is great. But I'd love to see that double. I mean, we definitely have the numbers that show more than 7 people listen to the show. So if you wouldn't mind, please do that too,
Yeah,
Terry.
even if it's not a 5-star review, leave it because we could use the criticism. We'll evolve the
Oh yeah,
show however is needed. We don't want to just hear, you know,
all interaction is good for as
yeah.
far as
We don't want just fake platitudes. Give us actual, like, if you have something you don't like about the show, tell us. That's fine. We will, you know. Uh the only thing I won't budge on is the gross out stuff. Mm,
is the
so
what?
there. Like gross out stuff, like talking about wiping our asses.
That's not gross. That's sanitary. That's health. We were just talking
That's
about
the
mental health,
opposite of growth. Of
physical.
gross.
Yeah, it's health. It's healthy.
You're
Sometimes
right.
health seems gross, but that's because our body is filled with a bunch of squishy little bits and they can be a little gross sometimes, but they're important. If you didn't have them, guess what? You couldn't listen to our show. So deal with it. Wash your ass because there are people out there who think that wiping your ass is gay and it isn't. Or if it is, get extra gay and get in there and clean your ass because it's sanitary. God damn it. Quit it. Just quit being dumb. Do that. Go wipe your ass. Um, but anyway, outside of that, I just want to please highlight leaving reviews or leaving comments, especially. Again, if you want to affect 2 people in a really sweet way, I know that every time Danny sees a question from somebody, he gets really excited. I get excited. I know for me, especially if I started seeing comments on our episodes, that would really make me feel good. So if you're unsure about how to interact with anybody else with the challenges that we give you, I challenge you to leave a comment, regardless of what it is. And I promise you, even just seeing it's going to turn on all sorts of fun little chemical induced lights in my brain. So,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
absolutely. We had that one
yeah.
question, we didn't know who it was from, so it
Oh
could have
yeah.
been like just a random listener, not a friend, and I squealed like a little girl. I
That's
was
honest to goodness
so
is real.
excited for it.
That really did happen.
I was like, "Oh my
He
god!"
did.
I
Yeah,
was
that was
so
really funny.
happy.
Yeah, that was how our conversation started when he got on the call.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, we
So
actually did it!"
so yeah, that's another way you can affect a couple of people who are hoping one day that maybe this can go from just a fun thing they do on a random night to like maybe this can be something that helps support our life. And that's how we do it. And again, like I was saying at the top of the show, I just want to be better about asking for help. And that's the kind of help that I need and that Danny needs for the show to take it to the next level as we need more interaction with stuff that like the networks can see, which is your Spotify's, your
Mhm.
iTunes, your Apples, your whatever, your pod. What's that other one? I don't know if Stitcher's still a thing anymore, but like all whatever those are, like we need to have that interaction. So
Yeah,
if you
I hate
could,
to
it would
bring
mean
up
the
the
world to us.
boring, like, business side of it, but it is important.
It is important, and I again, we have to practice what we preach and practice before we preach, and I just preached, so I'm practicing. Listen, we want help. We need help, and we'd love to have it. So if you're out there and you're listening, please take a moment when this episode wraps or pause it right now. Leave a comment on the episode, and please, when you have time, if you have a few moments, please go back to other episodes that really left an impact on you and say why, not just on our website, but on the show itself, because people will see it and it could inspire others to listen, and also the Spotify gods and the iTunes gods will see that and push that in front of more people to potentially grow our audience. So we'd love to have you be involved in that coalition of support that we need to push our show to the next level. So thank you for listening and thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
What he said.
Danny, off to you.
What he said.
That's all you want to say?
Is a dream come true. I love you all. Okay, bye.
I challenge you to wipe your ass.
I challenge you to wipe your ass the opposite way you normally would.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Let chaos reign.
Gross.